Thank you so much. Now, I have to tell you before I start. So last year we had this summit in Chicago. And the folks from Minneapolis said, we want to have the next summit here. So I said, great. I have one condition. You will fill the room at least twice as much as Chicago did. I have to tell you that you have delivered. So thank you. You know, here's the deal back to my home city, Chicago. Next year we have the summit in Chicago. We will double again, so we'll wait and see what happens. With that story of doubling, all stories have beginnings. And you heard Muffy today of her beginning with opportunity and the journey that she went on and how her life was frozen and then altered by meeting with the lady in Rwanda and the memory that she has of the bracelet she wears. You heard from Angie, and I loved, Angie, what you said. Entrepreneurs need people to believe in them. Entrepreneurs work hand in hand with their supporters, with their partners, to create opportunity. That's what we do. We create opportunity. We create opportunity for entrepreneurs around the world, those who live on very, very little, in our case. Our story of that opportunity, many of you are here listening about opportunity for the first time, starts far away, and not too far in today's world, but far when it started. 1971, Al Whitaker, the president at that time of Bristol Myers Squibb, right from here, from the Midwest, takes a trip down to Cali, Colombia. The Cali was not the drug capital at that time. It was back of beyond, right, dirt streets, and sees these people on the streets. He's a businessman. He says, hey, what these people need to change their lives is capital and starting their own businesses, micro businesses. So how do we do that? Well, he and his friends meet up with a gentleman called Carlos Moreno, our first client, 1971. Carlos is selling spices on the streets. He's selling two spices, right, raw spices. He buys a spice from somebody, adds a little bit of value because he packs it up in smaller pieces, and off he goes and sells it to whoever comes along. So our first loan officer, Ralph Clemenger, asked Carlos, what do you need to grow your business? And Angie, we heard you about, okay, I have a plan. The guy had a plan. He said, if I want to grow my business, I know what to do. I need to buy a spice grinder. How much will the spice grinder cost? $68. Well, we won't give you a handout of $68. We'll give you a hand up. Here is the loan. Run your business. Pay us back. By the way, we won't just let you go off and wander off with the money. We're going to walk with you. Carlos takes the $68, buys a spice grinder. 6 months later, he has a store. Not 2 spices, 54. 2 years later, he's got 11 employees in that store. 10 years later, Carlos does what I believe is the first IPO in Colombia. He sells his business. He now has 54 employees. He's got somewhere between 3 to 5 stores. And you know what he does? He says, I am going to help the people I grew up with in my community have the same opportunity that I got. He actually becomes a business consultant to start working with the poor people living on the streets in Cali and getting them to start their own businesses. That story of Carlos, and when the board asked me to come join, it struck me, and I've been now in the world of nonprofits for almost 2 decades. It's very rare to find a nonprofit that over its 47-year history has stayed true to its founding mission. The methods of delivery have changed, the places have changed, but the mission has stayed the same. What we are about is giving people an opportunity. What we are about is helping them build livelihoods. What we are about, 3 things in terms of the solutions that we give them, and only 3 things. They get mixed up in different ways, they get served up in different ways, but we basically do three things. Help them access financial resources, give them the resources they need financially, the capital that they need, the knowledge and the training that they need to run the businesses, and thirdly, the support that they need. All three, in the case of opportunity, are powered by people. Local people sitting in the streets, our staff, our networks, our partners, and local people here in Minneapolis and Chicago and around the country who are our supporters. That journey, that combination of bringing those three things together for the clients and your generosity, your passion to see a life changed in all these 47 years, 22 countries that we now work in across the world. End of last year, 9 million clients, 550,000 children in schools that opportunities funded across the world. Started one man, one person at a time, Carlos Moreno. Here we are. I get asked many times, huge numbers Atul, what does the journey look like? What does the journey of transformation, change look like? These are photographs from a website called Gapminder, a gentleman who passed away, a development economist, Hans Rosling. He gathered these photographs in his travels, and he has documented for us in very telling ways what life is like for a person, a family living on $2 a day. What happens to that life when you go from $2 to $4 to $8 a day? And then what change happens when you go from $8 to $20, $25 a day? We stopped at 32 because all of us are in the fourth category of more than $32 a day. However much you're earning, come put together, our total numbers are actually very small. Most people on the planet, about 1992, were at the first level. The vast majority, 1 in 2 people, living human beings, were at the first level. Past now 25 years, most people now are in the middle level, $2 to $8 a day. I give you my personal story. Grew up in a family in India. Actually, I have to tell you that I just discovered that I have a neighbor in this room who was 2 streets away from when I was growing up and going to college. So Mumtaz, thank you for reminding me. And please, Muffy, when you travel to India, just remember there's only 1 degree of separation between Indians. There's 1.4 billion of us, but there's only 1 degree of separation. So when I was growing up, my father, even when he passed away, the only mode of transport that he owned was a bicycle. He'd started on the streets. When he went on, that was his mode of transport. I remember, and there are friends here who will walk this journey. I remember as I'm the oldest son in my family, so my job on a weekly basis, we had a yellow ration card, which was given to people at a certain economic level in our country. My job was to go get that ration card, stand in line, and get the weekly rations. Right? We were given subsidized rations, which basically consisted of wheat and oil and some amount of rice. And then I'd bring that home. Mom would get that from me. And I learned pretty quickly watching Mom, well, she would take that ration and then she'd go and sit with her friends in the community that we lived, and they'd trade amongst themselves. Somebody had needed more oil, somebody needed more rice. So that barter economy is where I learned my business of banking and commerce, watching my mom trade our weekly rations. But from those beginnings, as I look back at life, and there's far more to it, what strikes me is the passion, the commitment, the dedication that my parents had. They did not want to see their children riding on bicycles. Put their own lives and spent most of their lives making sure that we got a good education, and now we're able to lead better lives. Why do I tell you that story? I tell you that part of a personal story for one simple reason. I can't tell you all the 9 million people that we serve today. What I can tell you is in those 9 million people, there are little boys and girls like when I was standing in that Russian line. Their parents have the same passion. Their parents have the same desire as my parents did for them to grow up and have a better life. That is what powers opportunity. I do believe that is what powers you. We started on the story. 1992, 1999, these numbers are 1.75 billion people living in extreme poverty, less than $2 a day. All that means, friends, by the way, the definition of extreme poverty, very simple outside of the jargon. All that means is that a person is earning enough. Takes about $1.97 across the world to buy enough calories of food for that day to survive till the next day. That's all that the definition means. It does not mean anything more. So that number, about 1 in 2 people living in 1999 at $1.75 billion. 2012, that number's come down to 900. 2016, the numbers have just come in from the World Bank, and it is now down to 737 million people. We have made tremendous progress in tackling the deepest, worst imaginable scourge facing mankind. People who forget about sustainable living are living from survival from one day to the next. Here is the good news. You heard this before, but I'll say this to you again. And I want us to pause to think about this. The good news, the greatest news, this is bigger than the internet, I believe. The greatest news that I can tell you or you can confront for yourself, and the biggest challenge, if we get together, we can get that number down to 0 in our lifetimes. When that day happens, the World Bank says, and the US government, as they look at their joint forecasts, it'll happen sometime in 2030. Maybe it happens in 2035. It'll be the first time in human history that everybody went to bed that night, living human being on the planet, on a full stomach. Now tell me if you don't want to get charged up. So we as a community of people, as we gathered here today, we are only going to be one small part of that journey. But we are going to be people who make a big difference in that journey. Why do I say that, and why do I feel for opportunity this is not only our charge, but we are fully capable of engaging with this? This is an organization that has never rested for all of our lifetime of 47 years rested on what it has been doing. Constantly it's wanted to innovate and do better, do differently. Constantly to push the boundaries of solutions that were needed by the poor. Microloans, discovering microloans in the 80s, discovering, that's not enough. We need to do savings banks accounts now because we can't simply give a loan and not have a place for these people to be able to save the money that they're now earning. Well, it's not simply enough to open savings banks. Where do they keep it? There aren't any banks serving the poor, so let's go open the banks. Well, the people are living in villages. Put ATMs on backs of flatbed trucks and send them out. Right? Every one of those, microinsurance. The first microinsurance agency anywhere on the planet was on a desk in Opportunity's office. 6.6 million policies, Opportunity's board. We're not an insurance agency. Let's sell this to AXA, a French insurance company. They took that 6.6 million portfolio. Now that portfolio is 75 million policies serving the poor around the world. Massive stories of scale. Our latest, education finance. About 10 years back, we get into education finance. Why? Not because we had that stat up there in our minds in some great strategy session saying 6 out of 10 people are not learning, let's do something about it. The mothers who we had been helping set up their own businesses, 98% of our clients are women. By the way, there was a recent survey we did in Ghana, 2 provinces in Ghana. 81% of our women clients in those 2 provinces, 81% said they have greater decision-making power in their households, in their homes, because of the income they're earning. You talk about the change that is happening in the families. Those mothers came to us and said, we need our kids to go to school. The public schools are not working. Those of you who were earlier here today, they're not working, they're not functional. We need good, affordable private schools. What do? We start funding local proprietors to set up schools. 3 to 4 years go by, we now have 1,000 schools. We're now starting to figure out this thing actually works. Let's go to partners, get them to put in their money. We provide all the initial capital, we provide the expertise. Well, long story short, now 10 years later, 2.3 million children in opportunity-funded schools, 6,000 schools in 17 countries. My colleagues here, Andrew McCusker, if you see him, he wants to take that number from 2.3 million, right? He wants to grow it 4 times to 8 million in all of 4 years. Now, and he does have a plan to make it happen, but he needs you for that plan, right? He needs you for that plan. And it is, come to our clients, it's the same story. We want to take, gave you the number of 9 million. In the next 4 years, by 2020, we want to double that number in terms of total number of clients. What we started, our journey, talking about change only happens one at a time. It does not happen millions of people at a time. Change happens one person at a time. In your life, in my life. The best person to tell you the story of that change is not Atul. It's somebody who's actually been on that journey with opportunity, with their community, walk the walk of starting where they did and now ending up where they are. The best person to tell you the story is our client herself. So now I have a surprise for you. We have a client from Ghana who's come in today, and she's going to join us now and tell her story. So Linda, come on up. And can we get a chair? Come on up. So, John, I need a couple of chairs. Linda's not going to stand and talk. Oh, there they are. There we go. Linda, come on up. Linda Niarco.
Yes.
Have a seat.
Thank you.
So I met Linda, I got to tell you before Linda started. I met Linda about a year back, and our staff, we were visiting Ghana. They took me, said, let's go visit our client. We go off, I get in the car, rickety car, up and down, and we go off into this rather dubious part of town. Slow slung factory, tin roof, it's a pakka building, brick and mortar. I walk in there, and there's this, tremendous amount of noise and heat coming out of the door. You walk in there, and guess what I see? I see machines with massive amounts of dough that are coming off. Linda's a baker, of those machines. And there are young men, their arms are double the size of my thighs, with machetes in their hands, and they're chopping this dough. I don't want to run away because they're going to chop me. So we go in. And they're doing the chopping, then they're picking up the bread, forming it into loaves, and they take it into the area that is the oven room. And I walk in with them into this oven room. The heat it must have been 140 degrees. Enormous amount of heat blasting in my face. I'm sweating. I'm Indian. I'm still sweating in the heat. Well, I'm standing watching the oven and the baking of the bread, and suddenly I hear this stomp of feet behind me. And I turn around, and there's Linda. And that was my first meeting with Linda, right? Is Linda the baker, her little factory in the industrial area in Accra, making thousands of loaves of bread. But Linda didn't start there. Linda started somewhere else. Yes. So tell us a bit about, Linda, in your own words, what their journey was. When did you first meet opportunity? How did that come about? And what was life like before that?
Thank you very much. Greetings from Ghana, Accra to you all. I'm Linda Nyako, married with 3 children.
3 children.
Yes. And my story, some was a little bit sad, some was also great for my life. Once I was living with my dad and my mom with my brothers and sisters. Along the line, at the age of 13 years, my dad left us. Things was very hard for us. My mom was also selling at the market by then when I was helping her a little bit.
So you were 13.
Yes.
You're going to school. Your dad passes away.
Yes.
Mom's now working, right? She's trying to make ends meet.
Yes.
Then what happens?
So with us, I was in junior high school.
Junior high.
Form 2 by then when my dad left us. So along the line, I decided not to go to school because I know things was very hard for us.
Yeah.
But my mom says, Linda, I want you to go to school. So what I do is to take my clothes in my bag when I was going to school. And then from school, I have to help my mom at the market to cater for my sisters and brothers. I was doing this gradually, and then I finished the school.
So junior high, dad moves on. Linda's there with her mom, doesn't want to go to school, right? Mom forces her, you got to go to school. You have to finish this. Well, Linda packs in, you've got the photograph there. She gets her work dress in her little backpack, goes to school, comes back from school, goes directly to the market stall where her mom's selling, and she's selling vegetables and bananas, right?
Yes.
And then what happens? You sell the vegetables, earn the living for the day, buy the food, and go back home?
Yes, I have to help my mom at the market sell, go back home in the morning. I have to go back to school.
Yeah.
Come and help her too at the market. In fact, my dream by then was to become a soldier or a nurse. But unfortunately, along the line when my dad left us, everything turns upside down.
So you want to become a soldier?
Yes.
So you want to carry guns around and go around killing people? All right, I got it. I got your story. Yeah, yeah.
So after I finished my junior high school, I told my mom I'm not going to school anymore.
Yeah.
Because I know she cannot afford it.
Yeah.
But helping her at the market, not knowing she was gathering money for me. So along the line, she went and paid my school fees without my knowledge. She forced me to go, but I said, no, I'm not going because I know I have to get some utensils, sewing machine for that. And
For
I
the
know,
school.
yes, I know she cannot afford it.
So mom's decided you want to go to the vocational school, get trained, and get a better life.
Yes.
Goes and deposits the fees, doesn't tell you. She saved up the money, right? And now here you are. You want to help her, but she says, by golly, go to school.
Yes. So people advised me to listen to what my mom was saying and then go to school.
Yeah.
I have to listen to what they are telling me and go back to school. But then still I have to help her out the market in a very tough situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And then what happens?
So doing this, gradually I completed the school. And then I have to get things to start my work.
So then you go and do what? You buy an oven? What do you do?
Yes, I have to go back with her again at the market to gather some money for the ovens and the utensils as well.
So how many ovens did you start baking with?
Only one. It was very small. Yes.
One oven. How many loaves of bread a day do you bake in that oven?
It was 37 to 65.
37 to 65. Now, I have to tell you this. Now, these loaves of bread are not ordinary loaves of bread. Right? These loaves are these gigantic, about a pound each, and I think we have a photograph somewhere of Atul and my very distinguished board chair, Dave Told. So I got to tell you this, right? there is, so we can hardly lift one loaf up and put it on our heads. These ladies, and this was when Linda was selling by herself on the street, she's got how many? 12 loaves. And by the way, that wood plank by itself weighs more than the loaves, right? So you look at, so here we are, you've got one oven, you're under a tree somewhere, right? You're selling 35 loaves a day.
Yes.
Then what happened? So you show up in the Opportunity Bank. Why did you go there?
Yes, I was baking the 36 bread under a tree, as you can see
Under
over
the
there.
tree, that's right.
Yes, we were living in a kiosk with my mom because of the situation.
Yeah.
So by those, I was once there when a friend of mine came to me, that Linda, I want you to go and guarantee a loan for me in Opportunity.
Okay.
And then I said, okay, even though I also need the loan by myself, but
I'll help you.
Yes.
So a friend says, guarantee me a loan. You say, I need a loan to grow my own business, but I'll help you. So you go with the friend to the Opportunity Bank.
Yes.
What happens at the bank?
So when I went there, I spoke to the
loan officer.
The loan officer, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I spoke to him about my condition and was desperate looking for a loan and was not having it. So this man said, Linda, I don't want you to guarantee for the man, but I want you to come by yourself so that we can also find a way to help you get the loan for your business.
So the loan officer, hang on. So the loan officer says, don't guarantee this person's loan.
Yes.
We want to help you.
Yes.
And what did you think of that?
It was amazing.
It was amazing.
Yes.
You thought it was real, it's going to happen?
No.
No, you didn't. Who would give a loan to a lady who's selling
Under
35
a
loaves
tree.
under a tree? Yeah, who would give a loan? Nobody in their right mind.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a banker. I agree with you, by the way. Yeah.
So I realized people were buying the bread.
Yeah.
And then this loan, the man promised me to give.
Yeah.
They came and assessed the place.
Yeah.
And then they said they will give me for me to make a start off.
Make a start.
Yes.
And what did that look like? They gave you funds to buy more ovens. How many ovens did you buy then?
I bought 2.
2 ovens.
Addition to the one that I have, and then a car.
And a car.
4.
To do the distribution. How many years back was that?
How many?
Yeah, when did you get the first loan? How many years?
I think 4 to 5 years now.
4 to 5 years.
Yes.
So 4 years later, 5 years later, how many ovens do you have now?
I have 15 ovens.
15 ovens.
Yes.
So you're on to 1 oven. 15 ovens. And my team did the math. The 15 ovens are about 5,700 odd loaves of bread that Linda and her team are now baking and selling on the streets of Ghana. Then I have to say this to you, is in the Bible there's a story of, there are 5,000 people, literally is 5,000 people who were sitting there and need to be fed, right? And there's no food. So Jesus tells his disciples, so feed them. Why do we feed them? So they, well, what do you have? Well, there's a little boy with this loaf of bread, right? Shows up, blesses the food, that bread, and it feeds 5,000.
Yes.
As you were telling me the story, your story, that's what came to my mind.
Thank you.
Started with that 1 loaf, 1 oven, and here you are, 5,700 loaves of bread. But you didn't stop there. So we met, Linda and I met in March this year. And, you know, Dave was there with us. And I asked Linda when she's leaving, okay, what's your dream? Well, what did you tell me? What did you want to do then? Set up
Yes, I said.
a second factory.
Yes,
Have you done that?
Yes, of course.
You have done that. So now, you know, talk about thank you. I think you should come here and join her because the exponential growth, it's right, way to go. So 6 months later, now by the time you end, I think you will be the grand dame of baking in Ghana. All of Ghanaians will be eating. So it's compelling to see 13 years of age, right? Father's gone on, mother doesn't have any funds left.
Yes.
You guys struggle, go to school, work in the evening, feed yourselves, put together enough money to buy one oven, right?
Yes.
Start to do the business well. Along comes opportunity. You're under the tree, baking bread, gives you a loan, walks with you along the way. But this is your story, this is not our story.
Yes.
All that we did was to help give you opportunity.
Of course.
All that our staff did, and there are staff here from Ghana. Vivian's here from Ghana, and our transformation officer. So please He's held hands with you,
Yes.
believed in you,
Yes.
and here you are.
Yes.
So as we now close, what can we pray for you for?
My dream is to help the girls most because in my bakery, because of our local machines that we are using, boys are many. I have 47 workers in Medina, and the new branch has 10 workers now. And most of them are boys. But you know, when you help a girl, you help a nation.
A nation.
Yeah. So.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
So mine is for you to help me get the heavy-duty machines to employ the girls more in the work.
Thank you for that. Yes, so Linda employs, by the way, I glossed over, I missed that point, is she's got 47 workers in her little factory. The 47 workers she houses on the premises and feeds them. So talk about ending extreme poverty. Started with her, now there are 47 workers, and how many women do you have who distribute your bread across?
Uncountable, they are many.
Uncountable. Yeah. So if you think about the power, right? Thank you. So as we close, Linda, I want to thank you. Do you have anything to say to our guests?
Yeah.
You want to come back to the US again?
Of course,
Did you like Minneapolis?
I enjoy it very much.
You enjoyed the brutal cold out there?
Yes.
You did that too?
Yes.
Well, Minneapolis, you have a convert. You might see her more often. But thank you, Linda, so much. Thank you for making, I know as I look at my own life and we look at our own lives and ask ourselves, what difference are we making? I have to tell you that from the day I met you, that's been the picture in my mind. Linda the baker.
Thank you.
So thank you for being who you are.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.